this keeps going this way. That's what I was trying to communicate. It doesn't stay in this place. It gradually keeps going down. So I don't know which is this. I'm going to adjust. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Daivim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavatir Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 14, Text 30. Sapi tat prasanad eva Sapi tat prasanad eva Chitraketor adharayat Chitraketor adharayat Garbham kritadhyutirdevi Garbham kritadhyutirdevi Kritikagner ivatmajam Kritikagner ivatmajam Sapitat prasanadeva Chitraketor adharayat Garbham kritadhyutirdevi Kritikagner-ivatmajam Shapitat prasanadeva Chitraketor adharayat Garbham kritadhyutirdevi Kritikagner-ivatmajam Sapitat prasanadeva Chitraketor adharayat Garbham kritadhyutirdevi Kritakner-ivatmajam Shapitat prasanadeva Chitraketor adharayat Garbham kritadhyutirdevi Kritikagner-ivatmajam Shapitat prasanadeva Chitraketor adharayat Garbham Kritadhyutirdevi Kritikagneerivatmajam. Matajis. Sapitat prasana deva Chitraketor Garbham Kritadhyuti Devi Kritikagneerivatmajam Sapitat prasana deva Chitraketor Garbham Kritadhyutir Devi Kritikagneerivatmajam Sapitat prasana deva Chitraketor Garbham Kritadhyutir Devi Kritikagneerivatmajam. Sa, she, api, even, tat prasanat, by eating the remnants of food from the great sacrifice. Eva, indeed, Chitraketu, from King Chitraketu. Adharayat, bore, Garbham, pregnancy, Kritadhyuti, Queen Kritadhyuti. Devi, the goddess. Kritika, Kritika. Agne, from Agni. Iva, as. Atmajam, a son. Translation. As Kritika Devi, after receiving the semen of Lord Shiva from Agni, conceived a child named Skanda or Kartikeya. Kritadhyuti, having received semen from Chitraketu, became pregnant after eating remnants of food from the yajna performed by Angira. There is no purport, so we are going to read till we hit a purport. After receiving semen from Maharaj Chitraketu, the king of Surasena, Queen Kritadhyuti, gradually developed in her pregnancy, O King Parikshit, just as the moon develops during the bright fortnight. Thereafter, in due course of time, a son was born to the king. Hearing news of this, all the inhabitants of the state of Surasena were extremely pleased. King Chitraketu was especially pleased. After purifying himself by bathing and by decorating himself with ornaments, he engaged learned brahmanas in offering benedictions to the child and performing the birth ceremony. Unto the brahmanas who took part in the ritualistic ceremony, the king gave charity of gold, silver, garments, ornaments, villages, horses and elephants, as well as 60 crores of cows, which is 600 million cows. As a cloud indiscriminately pours water on the earth, the beneficent King Chitraketu, to increase the reputation, opulence and longevity of his son, distributed like rainfall all desirable things on everyone. When a poor man gets some money, after great difficulty, his affection for the money increases daily. Similarly, when King Chitraketu, after great difficulty, received a son, his affection for his son increased day after day. The mother's attraction and attention to the son, like that of the child's father, excessively increased. The other wives, seeing Kritadyuti's son, were very much agitated, as if by high fevers, with a desire to have sons. As King Chitraketu fostered his son very carefully, his affection for Queen Kritadyuti increased, but he gradually lost affection for the other wives who had no sons. The other queens were extremely unhappy. The other queens were extremely unhappy due to their being sonless. Because of the king's negligence towards them, they condemned themselves in envy and lamented. What did they lament? That verse is also there. Now it's their lamentation. A wife who has no sons is neglected at home by her husband and dishonored by her co-wives exactly like a maid servant. Certainly, such a woman is condemned in every respect because of her sinful life. And this is where Prabhupada gives a purport. Purport by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. As stated by Chanakya Pandit, Mata yasya grihe nashti bharya cha priya vadini aranyam tena gantavyam yatharanyam tatha griham. As stated by Chanakya Pandit, a person who has no mother at home, and whose wife does not speak sweetly, a person who has no mother at home and whose wife does not speak sweetly should go to the forest. For such a person, living at home and living in the forest are equal. Similarly, for a woman who has no son, who is not cared for by her husband, and whose co-wives neglect her, treating her like a maid servant, to go to the forest is better than to remain at home. I'll repeat. As stated by Chanakya Pandit, little heavy. As stated by Chanakya Pandit, a person who has no mother at home and whose wife does not speak sweetly, such a person must go to the forest. For such a person, living at home and living in the forest are equal. Similarly, for a woman who has no son, who is not cared for by her husband, and whose co-wives neglect her, treating her like a maid servant, to go to the forest is better than to remain at home. So both sides are given by Chanakya Pandit. Om Ajnanatimiraandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Mukham Karoti Vachalam Panghum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tammaham Mande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Vanchakal Patarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sapitat prasana deva chitraketor adharayat garbham kritadyatir devi kritikagner ivatmajam. As Kritika Devi, after receiving the semen of Lord Shiv from Agni, conceived a child named Skanda or Kartikeya, Kritadyuti, having received semen from Chitraketu, became pregnant after eating remnants of food from the yajna performed by Angira. And then I'll read the translation again from text 40. A wife who has no sons is neglected at home by her husband and dishonored by her co-wives, exactly like a maid servant. Certainly such a woman is condemned in every respect because of her sinful life. So, we are again towards the end of this particular chapter. Parikshit Maharaj asked Sukadeva Goswami, how come a personality like Vritasur manifested? He is a saintly person in a demonic body. So it was very puzzling for him. In response to that question, Sukadeva Goswami is now going into the history of the demon Vritasur. So we are going into a flashback right now. And he is explaining that this Vritasur was none other than Maharaj Chitraketu in the past lifetime. Maharaj Chitraketu was a great emperor. He had millions of wives, but the only thing which he did not have was a son. So he was lamenting because he didn't have a son. Despite having everything, this one thing he did not have, and that was the source of his despondency. Angira Muni, the sage, came along, and by the blessings of Angira Muni, through one of his wives, just one of those, all those, so many wives that he had, through just one of his wives, he got a son. Angira Muni gave him a caveat. He said, this son will be named Harsha Shokha. He will be the cause of your joy as well as your misery. Harsha Shokha. So Chitraketu, sometimes in life, when we get happiness and misery, many times we try to enjoy the happiness first. We'll say, baad mein dekha jayega. Let us see later on when misery comes, right? Today I am happy, no? That's what I want. So Chitraketu was very happy in the short term that he got this son. But eventually the misery was round the corner because only one of his wives was blessed with a son and not the so many others. Therefore, the other wives were very sad. Chitraketu's discriminative behavior towards his other wives made them further miserable. Because Sukadeva Goswami is saying that Sukadeva Prabhu. I want to say Sukadeva Goswami, but we can call you Sukadeva Goswami as well. Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning to Maharaj Parikshit that Chitraketu could have been equally favorable to all his wives, but he invested all his affection only on one of his wives. As a result, all the other queens, they felt disconnected from Chitraketu. Okay. That reminds me, I should also switch off my phone. This Siri can speak anytime. Okay. So they plotted to kill this child. Jealousy and envy are different. Jealousy means I am sad that I don't have something which the other person has. For example, if someone bought a BMW car and I am still going in my, whatever, Nissan, Toyota, whatever. Okay. Somebody buys a high-end car, then I am jealous of that person, saying that he has everything, I don't have. That jealousy. Why can't I have? Why does he only have? But envy is one step above that. Envy means, because I can't afford a BMW car, may his BMW car get into an accident and crash. That is worse. There is a difference between jealousy and envy. Envy is one level high, right? Envy means I can't be happy seeing others' happiness. Jealousy means I am very unhappy because I don't possess what they have. So little mild version. Now here, what was this feeling of the other queens? Envy. Because she has a daughter and we don't have, may she not have. So because she has a son and we don't have, may she also lose her. That is envy. And because of this envy, they poisoned the son, and the son died. And now Chitraketu is going to lament the loss of his son, who gave him so much happiness. Harsha and now Shoka part. So that is all going to happen now. Now, Prabhupada here, specifically Prabhupada's purport here, is not about the envy of Chitraketu's wife. So we are not going to deal with that topic today. We are not going to deal with the subject matter of envy today. That's for the next class. Because from tomorrow that aspect will come. Today, if you see Prabhupada's purport, again I bring it to context. I am repeating it so that we come to context. Prabhupada says, as stated by Chanakya Pandit, a person who has no mother at home and whose wife does not speak sweetly should go to the forest. For such a person, living at home and living in the forest are equal. Similarly, for a woman who has no son, who is not cared for by her husband and whose co-wives neglect her, treating her like a maidservant, to go to the forest is better than to remain at home. So Prabhupada is he's focusing only on the specific verse. Rather than focusing on the envy of the wives, he is focusing on the condition of the wives. So in today's class, we will focus on this aspect of Prabhupada's purport, which gives an insight into how husband and wife must deal with each other. And that is what today's purport is focusing on. We are not going to focus on the envy of the wife. That's for a different class. So, dealings between husband and wife has been discussed since ages. But because we have had the fortune of studying Srila Prabhupada's books in this lifetime, we get a lot of insights from Prabhupada's purports on how husband and wife must deal with each other. In order to understand how husband and wife must deal with each other, we have to get to the core of what Grihastha Ashram really means. Srila Prabhupada said, Grihastha Ashram means Griha Sthita Ashram. Ashram means shelter. Shelter of who? Not the wife, not the husband, but the husband and wife together taking shelter of the Lord by taking shelter of the Guru, who is a genuine bona fide representative of the Lord. That is called as Grihastha Ashram. So, the ashram component should not be forgotten in householder life. Ashram means together taking shelter, not alone. Grihastha Ashram, the moment Grihastha Ashram comes, then there are two tracks. Husband and wife going along the track. Husband taking the wife along, wife taking the husband along. That is Grihastha Ashram. So, Prabhupada said, Grihastha ashram is meant for regulating the human mind so that it may become peaceful. Grihastha ashram is meant for regulating the human mind so that the mind may become peaceful for what? For enjoying material life. No. I was just saying, if anyone is saying yes. No. The mind may become peaceful for spiritual advancement. Because if the mind is not peaceful, then there is no question of spiritual advancement. If the husband and wife are hammer and tongs, then there is no question of chanting peacefully. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. No, it's not possible. What to speak of husband or even if we fight with some devotee in the congregation, can we chant peacefully? No, the mind will either tell us, how dare he behaved with you like this? You give it back to him. Or, why did I say that? He must have felt so bad. How do I make amends? So whichever way the mind will beat you up next day. That is why Mahaprabhu said, Trinadapi sunichena taro rivasaishnuna amanina manadena kirtanya sadahari. If the mind is disturbed owing to our own actions, then we will not be able to chant the holy names carefully. The mind will take us here and there. So, a person who is not married, for a person who is not married but who has inclination or attraction towards the opposite sex, such a person will find it very difficult to artificially control one's mind and sit and chant peacefully. Because the nature of conditioned soul itself is to have Purusha Bhav or the Bhav of an enjoyer. On top of that, Kali Yuga offers so many allurements in terms of advertisements, media, so on and so forth. Even the schools and colleges are not left behind today. Even the schools and colleges are encouraging this behavior nowadays. I remember even in some of the so-called good schools, best schools here in Australia, they encourage what is called as, I forgot the name of that day. In that day, the boy has to get one girl to school to dance. Forgot, social or something it is called as. Compulsory, right? So, I don't know why it is required. No, we can't understand why that is required. We are not fanatics. We are not living in Afghanistan where we say women should wear burqa, husband should, no, men should walk like this, otherwise the head will be separated from their neck. No, we are not fanatic. But this is fanaticism is on one end and this is on the other end. No. What is the need? Vedic culture means that for till 25 years, the men are protected and they are serving in the Gurukul, they are serving the spiritual master and they practice celibacy. And then if they choose to have a consort such that together they can encourage each other in Krishna consciousness, then laudably they get into Grihastha ashram and then serve the Lord in union. But it is not a license just for sense enjoyment. That is not Grihastha ashram. When we go on a freeway, and I like this example, so I keep saying it, because this example stayed with me. I don't know who mentioned this example, but some lecture I heard and it just stayed with me forever. When we go from Melbourne to Sydney, then it's a long freeway, that Hume freeway. And the car goes, after some time the passengers definitely have dozed off, like that. But the driver can't, obviously. The poor driver has to concentrate, so he's trying to keep awake, right? It's a long journey. So what happens? Automatically the driver gets tired after some time, right? And the passengers also get scared when they see the driver go down like this. Yeah. He said, Prabhuji, let's exit. So we take an exit. And then we go to the exit. In the exit, what do you get? You see, India we get vada pav, but here what do you get? You get all that burger joint and whatever. You have all that. You have a motel where they tell you, hey, please welcome to the exit. We have a nice motel. You can enjoy here. We have nice hotel also here. Hotel, motel, everything is there. Shopping center is also there. Everything is there. So what happens? The people who are driving, they say, okay, let's settle down here itself. And they forget that they started their journey to go to Sydney. Forget that. So, this is what Grihastha ashram is. Actually, human life is meant for self-realization. The goal of life is to attain pure love of Lord Krishna and to escape the cycle of birth, disease, old age and death permanently. So we start on that journey. But along the journey, some people, while they can go straight through from brahmachari to sannyasa ashram, not everyone can do that. Majority cannot do that. Therefore, majority take the freeway exit of grihastha ashram. But after taking the freeway exit, we settle down in grihastha ashram, right? And we forget the basic goal, what was the goal of life. So that is what is condemned. That is called as griha medhi, forgetting the goal of life and just having householder life for the sake of enjoying material life without a goal. So, therefore Prabhupada is saying grihastha ashram is a safe ashram. Brahmachari to sannyas is a fast car. Grihastha ashram is a safe car. Right? So it depends. One can choose fast car or one can choose safe car. Safe car is a bit slow car. And fast car is fast but it can crash. Right? So it's a choice. But both choices are available. The Vedas give us both these choices. Now, if you see the spectrum of householders, you will see many types of householders. Let us start with describing devotee householders. So many grihasthas, they get married only for the purpose of propagating Krishna consciousness. So for them, they realize that they will be better off together because there is a male energy which has got advantages, there is a feminine energy which has got advantages, and both are beautiful. Both can have an excellent synthesis, the male energy and the feminine energy. Both, if they work in tandem, it becomes extremely effective. It's a very powerful combination, these two energies. So many grihasthas realize this. They take instructions from their spiritual master that we believe we'll be more effective in spreading Lord Chaitanya's movement in this ashram together. And then they decide not to even have children. Okay? And there are several devotees who operate in this manner. So, that is perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. And there are many successful, good examples in our congregation itself of devotees doing that. However, in this world, most people are not like that. This is a very, very small minority we talked about just now, such people. Most people marry in this world not for the purpose of progressing their Krishna bhakti. Go outside and interview 10 people. Are you marrying for self-realization? What is self-realization? They'll ask you first. Right? So, most people marry because of their inherent attraction towards the opposite sex. That's the reason for most marriages. Coming back to devotees, what about devotees? Some devotees, many of us, at least for me, I was not a devotee when I got married. Dur tak I had nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. Remotely I had nothing to do with Krishna consciousness, right? So definitely when I married, I did not marry to realize for self-realization or to produce Krishna conscious children, nothing like that. So many people who become devotees later, they were not devotees when they got married. So for people like us, like me, we have to try and regulate our lives after becoming devotees by taking shelter of Prabhupada's teachings. But some people are fortunate. They are devotees by the time they get into marriage. So they at least have this understanding. So what they do, they also get married, but they at least have the scriptural foundation prior to getting into grihastha ashram. So they know, okay, they look either for like-minded devotees, or at least they look for a favorable bride or a bridegroom who will not stop their Krishna consciousness. So what is the point that we are trying to make in this discussion? We talked about people who come together, couples who don't have a child at all, they dedicate their lives to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, no son. We talked about the outside world who marry not for the sake of producing a child, they marry for sense gratification. We talked about people who marry and then become devotees and then regulate their sex life. And then we talked about people who are already devotees, who have an advantage because they have the foundation of scriptures, and then they again have children. The central point here is that for most marriages, in most marriages, it is absolutely normal for the husband and wife to expect children. It's normal. That's the norm. Exceptions are different, but that's the norm. Most husband and wife want children. Now, if you see it from the wife's point of view, from the lady's point of view, from the woman's point of view, it is very natural. There's nothing wrong in wanting to have a child for a lady. For the wife, it is very natural to want to progress from her one identity as a wife to another identity as a mother. That's how women are constructed, right? So there's nothing wrong. Woman, that's why we call them Matajis. Because the natural inclination for a lady is to become a mother. After marriage, it is usually the woman who moves into the husband's family. She leaves her own father, mother, the comfort of her house where she has been brought up for 25, 30 years. And then she moves to the house of the husband. So in that sense, the woman leaves her blood relationships behind. The woman leaves her blood relationships behind. Therefore, when she has already left her blood relationship behind, what is wrong if a woman wants someone of her own blood, which is either her son or her daughter? There's nothing wrong about it. So, if you look at in that sense, if you view the queens of Chitraketu, nothing was wrong in their desire that we also want to have a son. Nothing wrong with that desire. These people, these wives, they are longing their own child. Now, but what is the problem then? If this desire is not bad, then what is bad here? The problem is that they are longing for a child, which is absolutely legitimate, has now turned into an obsession for a child. And that is where the line has been crossed. Longing is one, absolutely perfect, but obsession or possessiveness with that idea is what is their bane. That is what is their nemesis here, right? Because this obsession has led them to develop envy in their hearts. Obsession leads to envy. Take the example of the BMW car. I keep looking at that car, I'm looking at my car. I'm looking at that car, I'm looking at my car. After some time, what happens? Dhyayato vishayan pumsan. You get obsessed with BMW. Why, Lord, I am not having. Initial days, I was going on foot and public transport. Then I was very grateful to the Lord for my Toyota car. But now when I see BMW car, I get obsession and I don't like anything what Lord has given me. So envy also leads to loss of gratitude for whatever we have, and it leads to obsession with whatever we do not have, and it leads to hatred for that person who has whatever I don't have. That is the problem with envy. So these ladies, their longing was okay, but their obsession has led to envy, which also we can pardon to some extent. But we cannot pardon murder. Envy has led them to commit a murder now, and that is not pardonable. No one has a right to take the life of anyone under any circumstance, except in one case, which is when you are attacked and in self-defense you are doing that. That's the only reason when it is acceptable. Otherwise it is not acceptable to just murder someone out of envy. Right? So that is the issue here. Envy, which then turns to longing, which turns to obsession, obsession leading to envy, envy leading to hatred, and hatred leading to wrath. And when hatred leads to wrath, then a person has no control over what they are speaking. Then you let it all loose because your intelligence is completely gone now. Then you have no control over your own behavior. Because the mind has now completely controlled you with its conditioning. So, while the envy aspect, as I said before, more of that will be discussed in the ensuing class, in the ensuing theme of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So today, again we'll come back to focusing on what are some of the things that Prabhupada has spoken in his books. If followed, the Grihastha ashram will be very stable. Otherwise, Grihastha ashram becomes a nightmare. It no longer remains ashram. It becomes Griha concern, not Grihastha ashram. So, some of the points we will discuss today from what Prabhupada has given. First and foremost, exemplary Vaishnavas. Exemplary Vaishnavas are an example for others because they are not seen neglecting, demeaning, or casting ill remarks on their partners. That is exemplary Vaishnavas. That is a good example of not doing that. Not casting ill remarks on their partners, in public specifically. Instead, we find that exemplary Vaishnavas are those who are caring and protective husbands and wives. Caring and protective. Of course, strictly following the principles of Krishna consciousness. I remember that in my earlier days, I lived in Japan for around 1.5 years. And that is where quite a bit of my Krishna consciousness was cultivated. People think because we are from India, then typically he would have got cultivated in India. No, mine was in Japan. Right? So it was a wonderful congregation. All great devotees. Especially, I was very attracted to one devotee, because of his sincerity towards propagating Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. I was very, very inspired by this devotee's example. Very loving towards me, very loving to the fallen souls in Kali Yuga, but very, very poor dealings with his own wife. And that put me off from that devotee. That one aspect put me off from that devotee, despite all the other things. So, and even today I vividly remember it, which means it impacted me majorly. Book distribution, top class. Harinam, first class. Deity worship, super duper. Dealing with other Vaishnavas, first class. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Everything first class. But dealings with one's own wife, third class. I saw him consistently, when the wife is speaking something, he will cut her. I'm talking now. And I thought, why is he doing this? He's got so many good qualities. Why is he doing this? This shows that devotees are not free from false ego. This proves that. It's not that just because we are chanting Hare Krishna 16 rounds following 4 regular principles and we are doing some great services, that means necessarily we are free from envy. I am asking a question, and it's a rhetorical question. We all know the answer. If we do this, is Krishna going to come with a flute and say, look, wife though, okay, you can deal whichever way you want, but you have done Harinam, no? Come, let's go back to Godhead. Do you think this is going to happen? Do you really think this is going to happen? No, it's not going to happen. It's obvious, but it is not obvious. It still doesn't go into our heads. It still does not go into our heads. We think that by whatever we do at home, it's acceptable. Because after all, I'm doing so many other things, no? No, it's not going to be there. Even if one devotee is upset with us, and we are the cause for that, no place in Vaikuntha. In fact, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam itself, the import of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam cannot be understood. Keshav Prabhu, my Bhāgavatam teacher, often tells this. Till the time we are completely free from matsara or envy and hatred, we cannot understand the import of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So, if you see, exemplary Vaishnavas inspire others to treat even the husband and wife relationships, treating each other well. That is, and setting a good example for the others. And then when people see these, they get inspired. I remember, I still vividly remember this, though I saw this many years back. Narasimha Kavach Prabhu, all of us know Narasimha Kavach Prabhu, right? That I saw the dealings between him and his wife. That was extremely inspiring to me, the way they deal with each other. Narasimha Prabhu publicly glorifying his wife for her services, like that. I have deeply inspired seeing Bhakta Prabhu and Bhakti Mataji, another exemplary, Anirudh Prabhu and Achinta Prabhu Mataji, our own temple president and first lady, how they deal with each other. Recently, immensely inspired when I went to Bhurijan Prabhu's retreat of how Bhurijan Prabhu and Jagattarani Mataji dealt with one another. What a respect towards each other, right? So these examples we have to learn from. Otherwise there is no point in attending retreats. Just hearing Krishna Katha is one thing. But seeing someone and how they are dealing, which they are not speaking, that is another level of observation. That is why devotional service, it is said, is pratyaksha avagamam dharmyam susukham kartum avyayam. We can directly experience the way Vaishnavas lead their jivan, their lives. So, there is so much around us. We are very fortunate to be living at a time when we have all these exemplary grihasthas in front of us to constantly learn from and to then mold our own behaviors towards our partners. And I'm not taking any one side. I'm not taking the side of husband, I'm not taking the side of wife. Both sides, it is important. So, but we will talk about both sides in sequence. First, we will talk about husbands. So please, if any husbands are there, don't come with a spear and gun at me. Okay? I'm going to talk about the wife also after this. And when I talk about the wives, please, Matajis, don't curse me. Right? So, first we'll talk about husband. So, a husband, Vedic wisdom says this. I am not saying this. Vedic wisdom says that a good wife is a great asset for material as well as spiritual prosperity. So, the husband must not see the relationship only from a bodily platform. The primary thing which the husband must realize is that she is under my care right now. She has left the care of her parents. It is now my duty. I have taken responsibility. I have promised during the marriage to her parents that I will take care of her. So come what may, I will do that under any circumstance. It's a promise. The wife has trusted the husband and left her parents. And obviously, we cannot breach that trust. So, as husband has to keep this in mind. I'm quoting some lines from Prabhupada's. Marriage between a husband and wife means that the husband should be responsible for the wife's well-being and protection in all circumstances. Should facilitate the wife's Krishna consciousness. Yesterday also we were discussing this in the Bhakti Vaibhav class, because we are now dealing with a beautiful section of the relationship between Kardama Muni and Devahuti. Top class section on how husband and wife must deal with each other, especially the husband taking spiritual leadership and giving protection to his wife. Devahuti married Kardama Muni on the instructions of Swayambhu Munu and Saturupa. It's not that she went to shadi.com and then looked around profiles. No. IIM Ahmedabad, looking for another like-minded IIM fellow. No, not like that. Or Harvard University. No. Swayambhu Manu and Saturupa were highly realized. And they had brought up Devahuti in a very pious manner. So she was a very pious lady. right? So she was informed, FYI, for your information. Will we accept? Father and mother, for your information, we have already chosen. Just copy to you. Not blind copy at least. BC's in it. Copy to you. Informing that this is going to be your spouse. Difficult even for hardest of hardcore devotees to accept that. But I have not seen. But she married. But on their side also, they made a wise choice. The emperor choosing a literal beggar as the husband for their daughter is unimaginable. It's like some wealthy man, Dhirubhai Ambani family, giving their daughter to a sage who is living in the Jhopadpatti in Bombay, in the slums, like that. So actually Kardama Muni was living in a hut. He had nothing over there, right? So they gave their daughter. Now what did Devahuti do? When she went there, she didn't lament. God, you don't even have a couch? Where's the TV? No, she didn't lament. She took this as her duty to serve her husband regardless of anything. What she saw in her husband was that he was spiritually very advanced. Her only duty was to serve her husband without complaining, day and night. She served him so much that as a result she neglected her own physical self. So she had become very emaciated, very bedraggled. If you look at the Varnan, the description which Śrīmad Bhāgavatam gives about her looks, you can get an idea of how frail she had become. And then Kardama Muni noticed her and she said, "Oh, you're looking so frail, you have been serving me for years." And then what did Kardama Muni do? He said, "Okay, anyway, take care of your health. Do exercise daily." No, he didn't give instruction to her how she should take care of her health. He actually did something about it. He participated in she getting her health back, right? He blessed her in such a way that her whole body got rejuvenated. He arranged for celestial damsels to decorate her very nicely. And Devahuti, he knew Devahuti had material desires. She wanted a son. Okay? She didn't want the Supreme Personality of Godhead as her son. That's a spiritual desire. She wanted a son, which is still a material desire. Because I want. That's a material desire. Right? And she didn't say, "I want a son so that I can propagate Krishna consciousness." Nothing like that she had said. So therefore we call it as a material desire. So he knew that all she wanted was a son. But Kardama Muni did not say, "Don't you know what is the goal of life? I am a practicing devotee, I went, I was doing so much austerities, tapasya. Oh, you material woman. You don't understand anything. You're not at my level. I don't know when you will understand." No, he didn't do any of that. He understood her need. So he used his spiritual advancement means compassion for the other living entity. So he understood her need, and then what did he do? He said, yes, I understand your need, therefore I'm going to make you a mansion, celestial mansion. And I'm going to create such a beautiful environment wherein we can unite and then I can fulfill your material desire. And in that process what he did? He united with her, I'm cutting the whole pastime short, and they had a son. But what did Kardama Muni do? In fact, they had daughters, 9 daughters they had first. And then they had a son. So pleased was Lord Krishna with Kardama Muni that he himself came as the son. If Kardama Muni, because of his yogic powers, if he would have neglected his wife, why would Lord have blessed him like that? He would have said that, okay, your karma is there, you get 9 daughters, see you later. Right? But the Lord himself chose to come in the womb of Devahuti. Because Kardama Muni dealt respectfully, properly with his wife. So the Lord was pleased. And then Kardama Muni blessed her in such a way that she had Lord Kapiladev as the son. So this is a very good example of a husband who is highly spiritually realized, yet very sensitive even to the material needs of his wife. And this gives us a very good template for our behavior. Lest we think that we are anywhere close to Kardama Muni. Even if we are, this is still the template for us. Anyway, at least I am not close anywhere to Kardama Muni. Right? But even if we were, this is the template. So it is the husband's duty. Actually, it is mentioned, stable grihastha ashram is when the husband is the leader in Krishna consciousness at home. Many times we have seen that when the wife is very favorable to Krishna consciousness, but the husband is not favorable, such a marriage becomes extremely difficult. Right? So the husband has to be teji amsam. That is what is mentioned in this section, Kardama Muni Devahuti section. Now, it requires therefore for the husband to develop the quality of humility, tolerance and understanding towards his wife. Respecting and caring for the wife physically, emotionally and spiritually. These are three needs which the wife will have. Physical needs, emotional needs and spiritual needs. In a book called as Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, it is mentioned that when the wife is sad, then she is not looking for quick logical fixes from the husband. Quick and logical fixes. Because man's mind works logically. Women's mind always does not work logically. Not that they can't work. Some of the women are the best managers in the world, best executives, right? Better than men they do. But a woman's construct is that she is not only logical. So a man gives quick fixes. Right? The wife says that she is sad and sitting at home. Then husband says, what happened? I'm feeling a bit down today. I think you must do yoga. Do deep breathing. Om. Like that. It will be irritating to the wife. Ask the Matajis. Irritating. Logical fix. Like that. What do they expect? What happened, honey? Kya hua? What happened? Okay, let's sit and talk. Half the time that is good enough for the ladies. Correct or no? All Matajis are sitting here. Just 2 words. That's all. Those shabd. At least ask me how I am. And it is very easy. I have tried it. It works. It's very easy. And if I don't try it, I know how it is after that. So it's better to try it. Right? All they need is 2 words of understanding. Sometimes they don't need even solution. They said, thank you, you just heard me out. No, that's all. I'll sort it out. Don't worry. Because they have abilities to handle themselves. But all they need is empathy. That's all at that time. So the husband cannot be, what is the opposite of empathy? Apathetic. Or, okay, it's your problem. Sort it out. Not like that. Then it creates fire, further fire in Grihastha ashram. Especially at times when either the wife is pregnant or the wife has delivered. These are all very, very key occasions when the husband's support is needed more. We have what is called as post-natal depression or depression which comes during pregnancy itself. Right? So these are all sensitive times when the husband has to be very supportive of the wife. In fact, during the pregnancy, husband has to create an atmosphere at home. I know one devotee who did that. He said, I knew my wife, the day my wife told pregnant, every day I will encourage her to hear Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. I will personally sit and read Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. This is love. This is affection. Right? This is sensitivity. This is human to do this. Right? So, considerate and compassionate through all the difficult phases that a woman has to face. Even sometimes being very tolerant during special times in a month when the woman goes through. Being understanding of that part. Because at that time she is not in her natural element. Because the body is in a particular state. Right? So at that time it's even more important for the husband to be understanding, theek hai, 1 or 2 bad things she said, okay, chalta hai. Take it in your stride, pardon and move along. So much for the husband. Now I have 10 minutes to speak on the wife's side. Okay. So the wife's side the wife is called as Ardhangini. Ardhangini means she is half the body of the husband. And what is Prabhupada's prescription? All the wife has to do is to serve the husband, that's all, nothing more to do in Krishna consciousness. Now this may seem far out. Prabhuji, what? Is it as simple as this? What? I just serve my husband and what? Everything, okay, Krishna will come with a flute and take me. I'll realize my Vatsalya Ras or whatever, rasa that I am in. Yes. It is as simple as that. It's as simple as when we go out to the new people and tell them chanting will take you to Vaikuntha. They'll say, so simple or what? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That's all. Just do this much and you will go to the Vaikuntha. It has to be something complicated. Concentrate on the Kundalini chakra from here and then gradually raise it. I tried to do it. I don't even know where is my spinal cord. Where to speak of Kundalini chakra? Half the time I'm trying to find out where is my back pain originating from. Right? So it's not possible in Kali Yuga. Right? What to speak of Kundalini chakra and all that? No Kundalini chakra required. Yesterday only we read one Prabhupada purport. Prabhupada said nothing is required. Just become Krishna conscious and you'll go back to Godhead. Right? Of course, we are not talking about that right now. But what we are talking about is that it's as simple as wife serving the husband. Now, still why there is a problem? The problem is the husband is not behaving in a way that the wife feel inspired to serve the husband. The husband is not teji amsam or spiritually realized. But if the husband were to be spiritually realized and teji amsam, then in that case this applies. That the wife serves such a spiritually realized husband and that's good enough. But in Kali Yuga that is difficult. That's why all this mess is there today. Right? Because the husband is not teji amsam and the wife is also short-tempered. Has her own ego. Right? So therefore it doesn't work. So both sides problems. Right? So it is said that the wife also has an ownership of taking leadership in certain situations, of controlling herself. For example, in India, in the West, I don't know much, but in India, generally the wife moves into the husband's house, right? And those are the most turbulent years in marriage, right? When the wife has to get adjusted to the mother-in-law, right? Everyone has gone through that. I will not ask any questions today. Lot of skeletons will come out of the closet, right? But dealing with the mother-in-law is not always easy. Many times, many devotees come and say that, no, I have got an excellent mother-in-law, my relationship. I know many devotees who say that. She's like a mother only to me. So no issue, fantastic, but please, this is exception. Rule is otherwise. Adjustment time during the initial years. The husband goes mad half the time in deciding wife is right or mother is right. Both are not talking to him. Right? So I myself went through that phase, very honestly. And I was consulting various friends. What did you do? I still remember, I was in Bangalore bus one day and I was going to my office and I was consulting another colleague. What did you do, man? Obviously, he gave some patchwork, it never worked. After that, I stopped asking him only. Right? But then obviously, I got in touch with Prabhupada's books and some devotees association in Bangalore, like that. And it went through well, thankfully. I got good counsel. But this aspect is very important. That the wife also has to develop some resilience. It's not always on the husband to resolve all issues. The wife also has to develop some resilience. And the wife's mother also tells her, don't be a touch-me-not in every situation. My mother-in-law told me, why don't you put salt in the food? I didn't like it. So I'm going to leave. I can't tolerate this. How can? No. Some resilience is required, no? You cannot be that, no, nobody can give me any instruction. I will be like this only. Even if I'm given the slight of instruction, my false ego is this big. So then I will make a big fuss. And I will immediately think of separation. No. So on that side also there are responsibilities. Some amount of empathy and compassion is required. For example, sometimes there is a cultural mismatch. Okay. Now, one incident which comes to my mind is, the mother-in-law was complaining that, I am sitting in the chair, the fridge is there, there are fruits in the fridge, I have also not eaten. The wife goes there, opens the fridge, takes an apple, walks into the room. Not even once asked me, dear mother-in-law, can I give you an apple? Like that. Now there is nothing wrong in this. Logically, the wife gave a right answer. There is a fridge, there is an apple in the fridge, there are more than one apples, she is hungry, she can walk, there is a chair, the fridge is nearby, she can open the door and take her own apple. Logically correct. Very good logic, right? But does the world revolve on logic only? Do you also want the husband to deal with you logically? No. Right? So there is no substitute in married life for affectionate dealings. When there is affection, even big problems can be solved. Yes. But when there is no affection, that's when there is a problem. When there is no sensitivity, no affection, no respect. So marriages don't work on logic. Right? So, husband should also realize that while wife should be therefore sensitive to the husband and give herself some time to get acclimatized to the husband's moods as well as environment that she has to serve him in. Obviously, we talked about husband also should be responsible to treat her respectfully. And together help each other in propagating Krishna consciousness. Not that the husband is coming home every day and there is no food in the house to eat, right? Especially if the wife is a housewife, husband is coming home, no food. Whereas the wife gone, Prabhu, she's in Harinam. How does that sound? Every day a wife is in Harinam, who will cook in the house, right? And therefore what happens? Such marriages also go through trouble even if the wife is going for Harinam. Now if you tell someone, Prabhu, Harinam, Prabhu, Mahaprabhu said, Chaitanya Charitamrita, what, book distribution. But do that, but not at the cost of house. If you really want to do that, become brahmacharini then. Then why you accepted married life? Married life means there will be work at home, right? But this is the wife's thinking. What the husband should think? Husband should think, my wife likes to go for Harinam. Therefore, I'm going to do the utensils at home. I'm going to keep the house clean. I'm taking more responsibilities because I love her. And husband should think that let me take more and more responsibilities at home, so my wife's desire to do more of temple services are fulfilled. Now, if that kind of a marriage is there and the wife says, no, my husband will come home, he'll be very hungry. So what I'll do is I'll cook nicely for him, and even if I have to go to Harinam, I know he will come and take care of me, but let me keep everything ready for him so that he is not hungry, and then I'll go. And if I have to cut that Harinam to serve my husband or mother-in-law or father-in-law, I will do that. I'll prioritize that in my life over going for Harinam, right? Best is husband and wife together work so cooperatively that all the housework work is also done, and together then they go for Harinam. That is ideal, best situation, right? But the point we are trying to drive is husband cannot neglect the wife. Chitraketu did the cardinal mistake of neglecting his wives, and that's why they gave it back to him. Of course, what they did is condemnable. But it doesn't absolve Chitraketu of being insensitive and only focusing on that wife who gave him his golden egg and ignoring all others who just because they did not give him his golden egg. That is not the essence of marriage. So there is a lot of learnings. When we just study Prabhupada's purport, this hits you very hard. I'll end with again reading Prabhupada's purport. A person who has no mother at home and whose wife does not speak sweetly should go to the forest. For such a person, living at home and living in the forest are equal. Similarly, for a woman who has no son, who is not cared for by her husband and whose co-wives neglect her, treating her like a maid servant, to go to the forest is better than to remain at home. I'm tempted to do one thing. Please allow me to do that. It will take 2 minutes, but it's very instructive. It is a conversation where Satyabhama is taking instructions from Draupadi on how to serve husbands. Would you like to hear that? I'll say it anyway. So, Satyabhama, Krishna is taking Satyabhama to Draupadi so that Satyabhama can hear what is it to serve husbands like. And Draupadi had how many husbands? 5. Difficult proposition, right? 5 husbands she had to serve. So, Satyabhama is, and Draupadi is in Agyatwas. She is incognito right now. They are in the forest. So, Krishna takes Satyabhama and goes to, for consulting Draupadi. So, I will just read that conversation. Satyabhama is asking Draupadi, please explain, what are you doing? What are you doing with your husbands so that I may also serve Lord Krishna in such a way that he obeys me. Satyabhama is a little bit controlling. Okay, so what can I do such that my husband is obeying me? So she wants to little bit control her husband also. So what should I do? And Draupadi is replied, I am reading this out. Please listen carefully, we'll end the class with that. The eternal virtue for a woman is based on her concern for her husband. So concern for the husband is the eternal virtue. The husband is the wife's god or master and her shelter. We are talking about the husband who is Teji Amsam. Again I am repeating that. Who is self-realized. Truly she has no other refuge. Why then should she hurt her husband even in the slightest degree? Whether I am sleeping, whether I am eating, or whether I am ornamenting myself, I never act against the will of my husbands. Now you will hear something which you wouldn't have realized in your wildest dreams that Draupadi told Satyabhama. I will tell that sentence. Always directed by them, I never speak badly about my mother-in-law. Who is saying this? I never imagined Draupadi will say this. Right? I never speak badly about my mother-in-law. And then Satyabhama is asking, is that all we have to do? And Draupadi says, no, more things are there. So this is basic. She said, no, there are also other things, such as the way I act towards my exalted husbands. For example, Haribol, Anantapriya, Haribol, Anusha. 2 minutes, sorry. Sorry for disturbing you, but 2 minutes. You will be okay. No, there are also other things, such as the way I act towards my exalted husbands. For example, I lay aside my vanity and pride when dealing with my husbands. I lay aside my vanity, I restrain my desire and anger and always wait on them and their other wives with devotion. I control my jealousy and with love in my heart and without feeling humiliated with the work I do, I serve my husbands. I am afraid to say what is wicked. I am afraid to say what is wicked or untrue. Many times marriage, this problem is there. Wicked things and untrue things are spoken. Right? So she is saying, I am afraid to say what is wicked or untrue, or to look or sit or walk improperly, or to glance at them in a way that reveals the feelings of my heart. Right? My heart is not disposed with any other male, be it human, celestial, Gandharva, young, ornamented, wealthy or handsome. I never bathe, eat or sleep till my husbands and our servants have done so. Whenever my husbands return from the field, read office here. Whenever my husbands return from the field, woods or towns, I immediately get up and offer them my respects by providing them with water and a seat. I am always busy serving my husbands and I never desire to be away from them. When my husbands leave home to visit some relatives, I don't wear any kind of flowers or scented paste and I practice austerities. Whatever my husbands don't drink, eat or enjoy, I also don't. I always seek the good of my husbands and always wear ornaments and follow instructions. Day and night, without the slightest idleness, I always discharge those obligations of which my mother-in-law informed me. Namely, those regarding relatives, charity, worshipping the gods, offering to the ill, etc., etc. With humility and under accepted regulations, I attend to my modest, truthful, and ever virtuous husbands. Which means the husbands have to be modest, truthful, and ever virtuous. So now she ends. With humility and under accepted regulations, I attend to my modest, truthful, ever virtuous husbands as if they were poisonous snakes that could easily be agitated. And she is talking about the Pandavas. As if they are poisonous snakes that could be easily agitated. Right? So these are the instructions. So in this situation in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, we see both Chitraketu being unreasonable and the wives also being unreasonable, and together this combination has led to a disastrous situation that the son is dead. Therefore, it behooves us when we study these sections of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam to take learnings and apply it practically in our own lives so that we can really realize the true import of what Grihasthashram is and do something practical about it to make our lives better and to become more effective in serving Srila Prabhupada's movement. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If there are any questions or comments, we'll take quickly. Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. If we are serving our grandfathers and grandmothers, would that be us and our parents, would that be service to Krishna because our parents are devotees? That's your question. 110%. In fact, I'll go one step further. Even if they are not devotees, still we should serve them. Okay? We are nobody to judge our parents or our grandparents whether they are devotees or not, because what will happen when we become parents and grandparents, somebody will judge us whether we are devotees or not, right? So we don't judge anyone as devotees or non-devotees. The only person we should judge is our own selves. Am I a devotee? That's the question to be asked. Amanina manadena. That is the essence of Mahaprabhu's teachings. What is the verse? Trinadapi sunichena taroriva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtanya sadahari. Even give all respect to others, even if they don't give respect to us. And I am sitting here and giving a big class. No, I also have to learn. I am not at that stage. But together we have to help each other remind Mahaprabhu's instructions. So we are not judgmental on anyone. So the answer is, even if they are not devotees, do that. In fact, if they are not devotees and you still do that, Krishna will be even more pleased with you. Why? Because by your example of giving them service and respect, even if they are not devotees, they have a chance that they will become devotees because of you, because of your behavior. They will like Krishna consciousness. They will love Krishna. Krishna consciousness, giving Krishna consciousness to others is not a question of philosophical erudition or something like that. It's simply a question of being a good example to others. Does that answer? Okay. Anything else? Yes, Mataji. Yeah, not because I have given this class today. Certainly, I agree with that. Come home and see, you will change your opinion. That was not a question. Okay. Anything else? Everyone is tired. Okay.
So, Prabhuji, where could we get to read more about discussion between Draupadi and...
Okay, I picked it up from what is called as the Grihastha manual. Just go to internet, Google Grihastha manual, it will automatically give you a PDF download. Okay, you can see everything. In fact, there are role plays given. Husband tells this, how wife should respond. Wife tells this, how husband should respond. How husband should not respond and wife should not respond. That is also given there. Negative role play and positive role play, both are given. In fact, we do that in our Bhakti Vriksha programs. We take that and we do role plays, enacting from the Grihastha manual. And it's fun and it's a lot of learning also. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Prabhuji's and Mataji's ki jai. Please pardon me if I have spoken anything more than required. Sorry. That's my bad. Hare Krishna.